What's up everyone, my name is Marie, welcome to my channel, and welcome to another speed build. So first of all, happy September. It's the start of September and it's officially fall in my, imagination. We have started fall. Unfortunately, we're starting off September with one of the hottest days we've had in weeks. It's actually really hot here where I am. I live in the Netherlands, if you didn't know. And yeah, this week is still going to be really, really hot. Actually, a lot warmer than it has been in a few weeks now. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But still, it's the start of September, and I just kind of wanted to share my excitement about that. So starting this month, really, you can expect some fall builds for me. That's not what we're starting with today, though. Today we're doing a base game only build. And this is in the world of Newcrest. You may know, because I've talked about this before, I have started working on a base game save file. It's going very slowly. I might have to figure out a way to kind of pick up the pace with that a little bit. But I only do like a couple builds a week, so I can't always be doing these base game builds. So I'm going to have to find some maybe more time to build, or maybe figure out another way to do it. But yeah, I am working on a base game save file, and it's going to come out at some point. But so far, I have mostly been working on a Willow Creek and also a little bit of Oasis Springs, not too much, but there's a little bit sprinkled in there that I have either renovated or newly built in Oasis Springs, but mostly Newcrest or mostly Willow Creek, and no new builds in Newcrest just yet. So today we're starting Newcrest, essentially, and I decided to start building on one of the bigger lots in the neighborhood with, well, basically the larger lots in Newcrest, which is not something, it's not my favorite neighborhood in the sense that I just don't really like larger lots. They intimidate me a little bit. I never really know what to do. But because I was just using the base game, I was like, that's nice and limited. So I might as well just kick off with a larger build in Newcrest, so that we'll have at least one of those down, and then next time I can do a smaller one. And I did not pick the largest lot. As you can see, this is a 40 by 30, if I'm not mistaken. And then the lot next door is actually even bigger. That's a 50 by 40, I think. I might be wrong, but it is something along those lines. So this is not the biggest lot, but still it is very spacious. And I decided to go for a colonial style family home, essentially, here in Newcrest. So with just the base game, you are a little bit limited in the sense, like what types of builds you can do, like what types of architectural styles. Obviously, you can go crazy and be creative and do whatever you want. But I'm really just going for a more cohesive save file in the sense that I kind of want everything to go together, and I feel like the more colonial suburban style is something that goes nicely in Newcrest. You can kind of see that in the surrounding buildings, like the debug life edit buildings in the area as well. So I kind of wanted to go with that and kind of fill the neighborhood with that. And then this area with a larger, more majestic, more more expensive houses is what this is going to be in the end. I wanted these houses to be more like colonial style and maybe a little bit older, but still very luxurious and just big and kind of impressive looking. So that's essentially what I'm going for here. You can see that I am definitely going for a colonial / suburban type of house. And I was not really working off of any image in particular. I did look at some different photos of just like colonial houses that I saw on Pinterest, and I was just kind of going off of that. And I was going out of my comfort zone with this one because, as you can see, I'm using red. You can't really see it that well just yet, but I do have the front door placed, and the front door is red. I do swap it out for a different front door that is also red. But the bright red color, like the Christmassy red that I was using in the beginning, that one wasn't really speaking to me, and it didn't match any brick that we have, like any red-ish brick in the game, which is not really going to work with that. And I thought it would be fun to use either a brown or a red brick. So I decided to go for this obviously base game red brick, and then this off-white siding for the rest of the house. So it's very basic in that sense, but I do think like it's very simple, but very elegant, I feel, and I'm just very happy with how this house came together in the end. Even though I was feeling a little bit on the overwhelmed side of things when I first started on this lot, I was like, what am I doing? Why am I starting with one of the bigger ones? I really love building on my 30 by 20s, 20 by 15s, you know, like the smaller, cute, cramped family homes. But for this one, I was just going all out. And I will say for the exterior, I did not feel limited by just the base game at all. I was actually feeling very inspired. I was loving my red accents. I was really starting to embrace them at this point. As you can see for the windows, I was using a lot of shuttered windows with red shutters, which I don't think I've ever used the red shutters before because red is just not a color that I will typically gravitate towards. I've talked about this before. If you've watched my videos before, then you might know, but red and it's just like it's not a great combination. I don't know what to do with red. It's not my comfort zone, if you will. And so for this one, it was definitely a step out of my comfort zone, but I really love how it came together. The brick is growing on me. I want to use that brick more often. It's very red, one might say. And I just I really like it. I don't think I may have used this brick before. I don't have to be dramatic about it. Like I do use red from time to time. I've probably used this brick before, but usually I'll opt for either a gray or a more brown-ish brick. That's usually what I tend to do. And then here for the backyard, I was definitely trying to fill it up all the way, but I still wanted it to have a more interesting shape to it. So I decided to close off most of the back area with a fence here, but then we also have a little play area outside of the fence. And I actually also decided to go for a pool later on. It's going to be one of those above ground pools. I'm not exactly sure how realistic that is or how great it looks, but I just really felt like this house, this type of luxurious house, they would have a pool in the back. It just makes sense. So I did that, and obviously I had to work with the rounded pools because we have round pools now. And then also something I was stupidly excited about for this house was my little white fence around the front yard. For some reason, it is one of the most basic things that you see every day, just in houses in general, in real life, is fenced in front yards. I feel like it is so normal and so common, yet it's something I never do for my house builds, for my Sims builds. I usually just create a little driveway and a pathway, and maybe I'll place a fence like somewhere, but never really a full-on like white picket fence moment around the front yard. And that's exactly what I did for this house. And then I went to basically cover it up with hedges, and I caught myself doing that. I was like, wow, I was so excited about my white picket fence, only to kind of hide it behind hedges. So I kind of made them smaller, and I deleted a couple, so we just have them in the front, so you can still kind of see the fence. But the front yard and just like the front, the curb appeal for this house, if you will, is definitely one of my favorite parts. I feel like it turned out really fun. It turned out exactly how I wanted it to, maybe even better than what I had imagined, because I didn't really have a set view or like anything in particular that I wanted this house to look like. I just wanted it to be colonial and kind of luxurious and grand-ish. And I feel like we definitely accomplished that. And like I said, I really did not feel limited by just the base game at all for the exterior. My struggles started really when we started on the interior. I say we because I built this over on Twitch. And so I feel like I wasn't really doing this by myself. I was doing this with the help of my friends in chat. So shameless plug if you are interested in that and watching me build live. By the way, I do stream a few times a week over on Twitch, and it's obviously always linked in the description box down below, or sometimes my description boxes are now also on the side. My YouTube layout has been kind of changing around. I'm not sure if that's the case for everyone else, but just a little sidetracked there. But the layout for YouTube has kind of been all over the place for me for some reason. I don't know why, but it's in the description box if you're interested in my Twitch channel. Anyway, yeah, the struggle for this house really started when I started to furnish it, because there's only so many objects in the base game, you know? It's really, you're really quite limited when it comes to that. Also, when you're building in a specific style, there's really only a couple furniture sets that that you could go for, really. So I definitely did repeat some items from time to time. It's also definitely not the most cluttered house you've ever seen. It's more so on the spacious side where there's definitely some space for your Sims to route around, which for gameplay purposes is not even a bad thing. But usually I'll go a little bit more cluttered and more personalized. But when you're doing interiors with just the base game, that is where I personally will feel the limitations and where I kind of have to be forced to, be creative and maybe repeat some items in different swatches to kind of not make it as obvious, that sort of a thing. So that's what I try to do. And the rooms in this house obviously turned out to be pretty big too. So I did need a lot of furniture to basically fill everything up nicely and make it lived in, stuff like that. So yeah, the rooms are definitely a little bit more on the spacious side of things, but I do think in the end, I'm kind of happy with how this came out. And also here for the backyard, I was obviously just doing some landscaping. I used one of these pink trees. Is that a magnolia tree? I'm not exactly sure. I don't know my trees. That's just kind of what pops into my brain when I see that pink tree. It's probably not a magnolia tree, but I use that in the backyard because I think it's so pretty, and it kind of ties in with the surrounding area as well, because you kind of see those pink trees around from time to time, like in some areas. And I never use them, but again, when I'm using just the base game, it kind of forces me, or it makes me use items that I'll normally just not even notice, but then because I'm limited, I'll see them, they kind of stand out to me, and that's when I'll decide to use them. So yeah, that goes for that pink tree. And here I was definitely struggling with a little arch or gate in the fence because I couldn't center it and it was driving me crazy. So I decided to go for two arches next to each other to kind of center it and balance it out that way. And I think it turned out pretty fun. And then when we're moving on to the interior, I absolutely love how this entrance turned out. We have a really fancy double staircase moment that I am very excited about. That was actually one of the suggestions of my friends in chat, I believe. They were like, maybe do 2 staircases or do one on either end of the hallway, something like that. Someone suggested that, and I started playing around with it, and I'm really happy with how it came together. I never do a double staircase moment, but I feel like it really fits this house and the style and the vibe of this place. It's a little bit too grand almost for what it is. I'm not exactly sure if you're catching that vibe, but it's definitely really fancy. It's so fancy that we have 2 living rooms. We have a formal living room space here, which is the first area after the entryway that I'm decorating. And then we also have an entertainment room where we have the TV. There's no TV in the formal living room space. But there is a fun fireplace, which there's also a fireplace in the informal living room. So I definitely have some fireplaces here. But then this middle space, essentially, is just, the formal living room. And then I also ended up placing a grand piano in there. There is a small 1-tile bar. There is a small 2-seater dining table in here. So this is definitely more of a space for more fancy get-togethers, if that makes any sense. This is not the family room, This is furnished for a family, actually, by the way. I didn't really have a specific storyline in mind. I definitely just started building this for the sake of building this house, and as I was furnishing it, we were trying to come up with a storyline, but we never really landed on anything. So I don't have a very personalized, specific storyline for the Sims living here. But I will create them, and I think it's going to be a multi-generation family. So we're going to have 1 or 2 grandparents, because we do have 1 bedroom downstairs. Then we have a main bedroom upstairs as well, so that could be for the parents. We have a shared kids bedroom, so for 2 children to share, and then there's also a teenager bedroom. So essentially that's 2 parents, 2 grandparents, 2 children, and a teenager would make 7 Sims total. If you wanted to, then that's what you could fit in here. But obviously there's room for creativity, whatever type of family you want. But I definitely felt like this could make a great multi-generation family home type thing with the grandparents living there still. So that's definitely what I went for. And here in the living room, you can see that I did place that 1-tile bar, which is a base game item, but it is one of the login reward items. So I do think there's definitely players out there that don't have it, which is a little bit unfortunate. When I first started building this save file, or starting on this save file, I kind of told myself that I didn't want to use any of the login reward items, but I kind of forgot about that and I sprinkled them in here and there. So we do have that bar here. I also definitely have used the throw pillows in this build, and I have used those in other like previous builds too. So if you don't have those, I feel like the throw pillows is really, if they're not there, I always place them either on a couch or on a chair or something like that. So if you miss those, you won't even notice it. The one tile bar, you'll definitely notice a small little empty space in this house, but maybe you can, if you have packs, maybe you can use the globe bar or something. The globe bar, I think, is something that came with Get Famous, if I'm not mistaken, or you can just put an extra armchair or maybe like a stereo or something like that. Like you could definitely fill up the space. It's only a small space. And then here off of the formal living room space where we have the grand piano, we have a sunroom, which is what I turned into the formal dining room. So there is a large 8-seater dining table in here. And then we just have some more tables and chairs like kind of sprinkled throughout the build as well. And then in the kitchen, once we get to the kitchen, I'll show you, or you'll see that I did a little trick where I actually created a functional breakfast booth, which is very exciting. But coming back to the families, by the way, I will also link this hashtag in the description box or in a pinned comment or somewhere. Basically, you can create base game households for me to use in this save file. So if you wanted to create me a base game only household, it's very important that they're base game only, obviously, since this is a base game only save file. You can upload them using the hashtag Simmary save, and I'll find them, I'll see them, and then I can sprinkle them into the save file. I can either build them houses, or maybe I'll use the families or some households to basically fill up the save file. They'll just be homeless, essentially. Like I won't give them houses, but I'll put them in the save file so you can kind of see them walking around as townies, essentially. So yeah, all the Sims are welcome. The more the merrier. I can't guarantee I'll be using all of them, of course, but if you feel inspired to create a base game only household for me, feel free, or for anyone, but if you just want to make one in general, feel free to use the hashtag SimmerySave if you want me to see it or find it. And then that way maybe I'll end up using it and I'll put it in the save file. And it's very helpful because I'm not the greatest with casts, so any help I can get, honestly, with people creating families for me essentially is a huge help. But then here we are moving on to the kitchen. The kitchen is very spacious. So essentially what happened is I was looking for a way to fill this up, and I wanted to do like this large island. And then friends in chat suggested some shorts that they had seen of someone creating this functional breakfast booth, essentially. You can keep it simple and make it not functional and just place that little couch in that nook by the island counters. But what I did, thanks to that short that I was watching, which I will also link in the description down below so you can look at it and I can credit the creator because it's so incredibly smart and so incredibly creative. But essentially what I did was I created a tiny little basement, which is where I placed the couch. Then I raised up the couch to the level where it's at right now. Then I slotted some dining chairs to the table, and I sized down 2 of the dining chairs so that I could merge them into the couch. And that way you can still kind of see them, and then you can click on it and your Sims can sit on it, and it actually looks like they are sitting on the couch using the table. It's functional. I play tested it and it is phenomenal. I swear people are so creative, and I'm so happy that I found this short, or that it was sent to me, and that I can now link it in the description box so that you all can see it too, because it is literally genius. And I'm so happy that I was able to do this trick here in this kitchen. It was exactly what it needed to like kind of make it feel a little bit more cozy and to create a more informal breakfast or dining or just like eat space, if that makes sense, here in the kitchen, so that you don't always have to use the formal dining room. I just thought it was so smart and just so cozy. So yeah, here you can see the kitchen. I was definitely struggling with the clutter in the kitchen a little bit because, again, I was using only base game. I do have my debug and live edit and stuff, so I do use some of those items. But with these base game save file houses, I really want to have them be very functional for gameplay and not too cluttered. So I really try to keep an eye on the amount of like debug clutter that I use. But you know, I am still me, and I will just kind of forget about that as I'm vibing and building and just having fun with clutter. So I'll probably just place a little bit more than I intend to, especially when you have a large kitchen space to fill up. You know, it's just nice to have some little Diva cleaning products, or the little coffee bean bags are so useful too. You know, that kind of stuff. So I kind of still place that, but I feel like it's not that bad. The kitchen is definitely spacious. There is a very fancy like double stove moment. I wanted to do a double fridge as well, but I couldn't really figure that out with the layout, how it, and like still have it look good. So I didn't end up doing that. But yeah, for the rest, the kitchen's very spacious. And of course, the breakfast booth is my favorite part. I just love it so much. And then here we have a full bathroom downstairs, which is the only downstairs bathroom that we have. This house actually, surprisingly enough, doesn't have that many bathrooms. It only has 3. It has a downstairs full bathroom, which is this one, and also the only one I recorded, I believe. Then we have a Jack and Jill bathroom upstairs for the kids and the teen. And then there is a hall bathroom upstairs as well, which is actually a very big, luxurious bathroom. But I didn't end up recording that one. I kind of regretted it once I was done, but I was like, I'm not going to delete it and do it over again for the sake of recording it this time. So I'll just show you when we do a tour of the place when the entire house is finished. But yeah, we are moving on to the informal living room. Is that what you would call it? Or would it be more of like an entertainment room? I do remember, this is very random, but I do remember that when I was little, like I'm talking like 8 years old, I had a friend, I think she lived in the same street, a couple houses down, and they had this situation where they had a formal living room and then an informal living room. And I do remember that we were never allowed in the formal living room. You had to kind of walk through it to get to the informal one, just like this house I'm building right now. The house I'm talking about was not this big, but like still it had that 2 living room kind of situation. And I remember as a child, I was so fascinated by the concept that there was a living room with a couch and everything, and also a TV, I think, in there that we just weren't allowed to use. Their parents were always super strict about it. They were like, you can't sit there. And sometimes we would just kind of sneakily kind of sit on the couch and try to get away with it. And then their parents would always get so mad, at least in my brain. They were probably not super mad, but that's just like from an 8-year-old's perspective, you know? I remember that they had that concept, and that's the only house in my entire life I've ever been to that had that really like that full formal and informal living room moment, like, and actually used it that way. We just were not allowed in the formal living room. It was a crazy thing to me when I was little. Now I kind of understand, like they wanted to keep it neat, and we were probably not neat. We were probably very messy children, so I kind of understand it. But it's just every time I build a fancy house with a double living room, that's what pops up in my brain, and that's what I'll think about. It's the wildest thing. And in my brain, that house was in my memory, like that house was really big, but I don't think it was, at least not as big as this one. But yeah, it was crazy. That's always what I think about. Very random. But yeah, in the informal or like entertainment room, I obviously placed a TV. I also made sure to place some other activities. So we have a games table in there. I also placed a stereo. I think we have a guitar for a little musical instrument. We also have a piano, obviously, but not in that room. And then I also placed an easel in there, which for the sake of gameplay makes a lot of sense. Realistically, probably not. It would probably really be very smelly if you just randomly started painting in the living room and there's no protection on the floor or anything like that. But for the sake of gameplay, it's nice to have an easel sort of in the activity room, I guess. So that's what I decided to do. And then off of the living room, we have the little office that I just completely talked over, but there is a small dedicated office there with a desk with a computer on it and a couple bookcases. And then that office space actually leads into this downstairs bedroom, which I was thinking could be for the grandparents. For some reason, I always, when I do this multi-generation family home type thing, I always give the grandparents a bedroom downstairs. I think it's because subconsciously I'm like, I don't want to let the elderly Sims walk up and down the stairs to their bedroom, so I just, for easy access, give them a bedroom downstairs. That's kind of what I kind of subconsciously think of when I do this. So that's what I was thinking for this one as well. So we have a small, or not a small, actually it's a pretty spacious bedroom here for the grandparents. One thing I always struggle with so much, almost more than anything, like maybe even more than curtains, is dressers and wardrobes in the base game. I just struggle with it so much. We have a couple of pretty okay lower dressers, but we don't have any good tall wardrobes. There's that one tall wardrobe in the base game that is more modern, and that one's pretty versatile, but I don't like it for these types of houses. So really there's no tall dressers to pick from, only this base game one that I used here. So I definitely used that in here. And then I think I ended up using the modern one as well, but in the teenager's bedroom only, because that's the only room where I could kind of get away with it, I felt like. But yeah, let me know if you ever do base game only builds. If you're a builder, let me know what you struggle with the most. For me, it's definitely the wardrobes and the dressers. And I always forget about that until I'm like actually decorating them and like need a dresser or wardrobe. That's when I'll realize, right, this is always a struggle. Even more so than curtains. And curtains are a struggle in the base game, let me tell you. And then here we have the second room. Of course, we have the landing here. I feel like the landing just looks very majestic and very grand with the double staircase moment, and then the open hallway, like the open landing to the ground floor. It just looks very, very majestic and cool. I'm just very happy about how that turned out. And then we have a landing. I didn't clutter it up too much. I just placed a dresser there, some drawers, and some decorations. And then these people actually have a full-on library leading to their balcony. So you could essentially turn this into a fifth bedroom if you wanted to. There's definitely space to do that because this is a pretty big room. And then this bedroom would have access to the balcony, which is actually pretty nice. But I decided to have the access to the balcony be off of a library. I thought that was cool. I was kind of debating what I should turn this room into, and people suggested either a gym or a library, and I thought it was cool because I never really do libraries in my houses. And you could say that this is more of like an office study kind of thing, which it kind of is, but it sort of looks like an at-home library with these tall, all the way filled up bookcases on either end. We have a double office, like back-to-back office with another computer. So you could say that we do have two offices in this house, which is really nice. And then just all the bookcases. And I really enjoyed that library moment in the house. I just thought it was really nice and something I don't do very often. A nice way to fill up a room, you know, when you have not that many things to pick from. And then here we have the children's room. I was fully embracing the, I guess, kind of ugly color scheme, you can almost call it. Someone in chat said, this reminds me of like a 70s kind of bedroom. And I was kind of embracing that. I was loving the brown and blue and yellow. And of course, upstairs here, we have that very, you could also say ugly carpet, this brown carpet in all the bedrooms upstairs. I was really trying to go for a more outdated, but still expensive look and feel for this house, as you could probably already tell. So I was trying to do something fun here on the second floor with the carpets. I never really use carpet in my houses, but for these types of houses, I feel like it's very fitting. And I decided to go for the brown one with the fancy pattern. It's something fun, something different, something I wouldn't normally really gravitate towards, but I thought it was fun for a base game house. So that's what I did. And I was fully embracing it in the kids' room. It turned out to be very colorful and playful still, just not necessarily the colors I would opt for if I had more colors and more packs to use. But I do like how it ended up looking. I actually really like the ladybug rug in the kids' room. I don't think I've ever used that rug before in my life in any build. So that was a fun little moment and definitely something new. And now that I've used it, I definitely want to use it more because I kind of like the ladybug rug. I just think it's really cute. So that's one of those gems that I kind of came across as I was finishing this build, which was really fun. And then here we have the teenager's bedroom, and even more so than kids' rooms, with just base game, I struggle with teens' rooms. I find them very difficult to do because we just don't have a lot of things that really necessarily cater towards teenagers specifically. So I was still trying to make it work. One thing I'll usually use for teens rooms with just base game are those movie posters. I placed that one with the cow plant above the bed, for example. I also placed some sports clutter like on the floor. We have some mismatched colors in here. We have a rug that really doesn't go with anything in this room, which is kind of what I was trying to do with that rug. And then we have some paintings leaning against the wall that are really fun and definitely more modern and don't really go with anything else. So I was kind of going for that messy bedroom look and feel for the teenager. I think you can kind of tell that it is supposed to be for a teenager compared to the other bedrooms, you know, so I think it still worked out in the end. And then here we have I guess the parents' room, which is pretty cozy. There's not a whole lot of like large windows in here. There's definitely some windows here, but they're a little higher up on the wall because this room is essentially kind of nestled in between the roof, if that makes any sense. So I didn't really have a lot of space for windows in here, but we do have a couple, but it does make this room feel a little bit more cozy. And cramped in a way, but it's still pretty spacious. So I had the space for a nice bed set up with some nightstands on either end. We have a dresser and then also a couple of chairs with a little table in the middle as well. So they have a nice seating area in their bedroom as well. And yeah, I don't know. I really like how this bedroom came out. It feels very cozy because of all the warm brown tones. I was trying to kind of like sprinkle in some colors with some blue accents. We do have this blue grayish wallpaper in here, but really it just turned out to be very brown. I did end up placing this blue rug though, so that definitely brings in a little bit of color as well, but not all that much. And then of course we have the balcony off of the office or library, I should say, where I placed a chess table for an extra activity and then just a little area to sit around and just talk or read a book or whatever. There is not a whole lot to do on this balcony, but you know, you can do chess or painting. I decided to just add in another easel. Maybe there's a sim in this household that really enjoys painting, so they could have a second easel on the balcony for when the weather is nice. I thought that would be nice. And then here we have the backyard. We have the tiniest little back porch where essentially we just have some plants and then a outdoor bin. That's a little bit closer. I placed an outdoor bin at the front of the house as well, but it's very far away. Like it's definitely a long walk all the way to the sidewalk from the kitchen to empty out your bins. So I figured it would be nice for gameplay purposes to have one here on the back porch as well. And then we just have this basically just an extended terrace kind of thing where I placed an outdoor dining set. We have a grill that I was struggling with. I didn't really know where to place it, but I ended up just placing it on an angle in the corner. And then we have a seating area. For my outdoor seating areas with just base game, I always use just indoor furniture because you can kind of make it look like outdoor furniture if you pick the right swatches, I feel. So that's kind of what I did. So it looks like they have a nice outdoor lounge set to use, even though we don't really have that specifically for outdoors in the base game. And then you can do gardening here. There is also an area for the kids to play. I added some loungers in the backyard, but there's definitely room to like fiddle around, maybe add some other activities if you have anything else in your game, you know, that type of thing. So it's definitely more spacious. And then in the front, I ended up placing a picnic table, and then we just have some decorations on the front porch. And then that is essentially going to be it. So let's jump into the game and I'll show you the house in real time. So here we have the house in the game. I have my game set to fall at the moment, which is obviously not something you can do when you have just the base game, but I thought it looked good. I just really love how this house looks in the fall. It's unintentional. It was for another build, but I just kind of left it because it's cute. So here we have the house. I am obsessed with the front porch, or like the curb appeal moment here with the fence around the front yard and the grass, and in this case, the nice autumnal tree. It is so nice. I created this little area here for the bin and the letterbox, which I also got inspiration for from a friend, by the way. She is very talented, Honey May Sims. She actually created a short on how to do this. So I will also link that in the description box down below. So if you're curious, check that out. There is a small driveway here where I just parked a debug car. I thought that was fitting for this house. And then around the back here is where we have the backyard. There's a side entrance here with a gate, and then essentially we just have the pool, dining area, area, a lounge area, some gardening can be done here, and then a small play area as well. And of course, the tiny back porch. But then let's go inside. So here we have the entryway space, which I really like with the double staircase moment. You can see that it's nice and open to the landing up here. And that's exactly the kind of thing that I wanted for this house. Over here, we just have some decorations, a coat rack, just your regular entryway stuff, I want to say. And then you enter into this living room, formal living room kind of thing. It's very spaciously set up. As you can see, it's most definitely not very cramped like I would usually do for my family homes, which was a nice change of pace and definitely something different for me. So here we have the living room set up with fancy art, a fireplace, couches, chairs. So yeah, definitely feels fancy. In the back here, we have that one tile bar, and then we just have some bookcases scattered around. Over here is a little entertainment area with a grand piano, a small table, and a little reading chair here. And through this archway is the sunroom, which I turned into the formal dining. So there's an 8-seater dining chair here, and then for the rest, just kind of fancy looking decorations everywhere. Again, not too cluttered. And we definitely have some expensive art in this house as well. Through this archway is the kitchen with, of course, the breakfast booth here in the island. And this is one of my favorite things in this house. As you can see, I created this basement here, and then I just raised up the couch so that your Sims can still sit here. And let me show you. When you zoom in real close, you can see the size down chairs here. You can click on them and tell your Sim to sit, which she then does. Look, it's completely functional. She's using the table, sitting on the couch. And I do realize that I use these cushions, but when you don't have them, you won't notice the chair because I sized them down to where they don't stick out through the couch. So you still won't notice them. The cushions are just there for vibes. So yeah, we have that. I'm incredibly excited about it. And then over here we have the double stove, of course. We just have all the kitchen appliances that you need. There is a small coffee bar here in this corner, which I really like. There's even a tea maker. I had to use all the appliances to fill up the space in here. And then there's a second sink over here. On this side here is the downstairs bathroom. It's just your nice full bathroom, pretty fancy, but nothing crazy. And then over on this side of the house is the informal living room or entertainment room, which is where we have the TV. This definitely feels a little bit more family appropriate, if that makes sense. Just like a little bit more cozy than the rest of the house, I guess. You can do some painting in here, or play some games. You can practice guitar, you can listen to music, or even read a book. So there's definitely some activities in here. This is where we have a small office space. I really like this desk set up by the window with these fancy curtains. It just feels very majestic and pretty to me. There is a bookcase here, and then for the rest, just a little plant. And then this basically leads you into the grandparents' bedroom. I'm loving the pink wallpaper in here. It feels very inviting. I'm not really sure why, but I just like how it looks. They have a double bed here, of course. Again, incredibly expensive artwork. That's just what we have here in this house. A small lounge set up here, a dresser, and then some additional wardrobes over here as well. Going upstairs, of course, we have the landing that I already showed you. And then on the left here is the kids' room. Loving the colors, the brown, yellow, blue, green, just all the colors mixed together. I don't know why, but I think this might be my favorite kids' room I've done with just the base game, and it's probably because of the ladybug rug. I just think it's so fun, and I definitely try to put as many toys as I could in this room. So we have some plushies, we have an activity table for the kids to use, there is a toy box and also a dollhouse. So I feel like the kids won't really get bored in this room. And then over here is the teens room, which is definitely a room I struggled with a little bit more. It's also because it's a very narrow room, and I was kind of struggling with the layout of it, but I still feel like it makes sense for a teenager. It's a little bit more mismatched and messy. They do have their own desk here to sit down and do some homework, so that's nice. And then they have access to this Jack and Jill that they share with their siblings. So this is just a smaller bathroom with just a shower. On this side is where we have that library with the double desk and all the bookcases. It also kind of feels like maybe like a lawyer's office or something like that. So that's also something you could use it for, just to work from home. And then that leads you onto this balcony space where we have some more activities and also just a lounge setup. Across from the library is the upstairs fancy hall bath. This is where I use one of the corner tubs, which I never do, but I just think it was perfect for this bathroom. It feels a little bit outdated, but still expensive, if that makes sense. There is a shower here, a toilet, of course, and then a lot of storage space here by the sink as well. Through this tiny extra hallway thingy, you enter into the parents' bedroom. So this bedroom feels very cozy. I really like this one. It's very warm because of all the brown tones, of course. They have a dresser over here and then a small lounge area here by the window as well. But yeah, that is basically going to be it for this house. So this base game family villa is up on the gallery. It has 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and it's very expensive. It comes in at just over 280,000 simoleons. It's crazy, but it's also because base game stuff just runs kind of expensive, so it makes sense. It's also very big. I built it on a 40 by 30 in the world of Nook Rest, so if you do want to place it in your game, then that's where it goes. But that's gonna do it for today's video, so I really hope that you enjoyed this one. You can obviously go ahead and download it off the gallery like I just showed you. My username on the gallery is Simmary Sims. You can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok if you like. My username on there is Simmary Sims as well. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, feel free to do so, and if you'd like to get notified of every single time I upload a video, just click that little bell icon and you should be fine. I also live stream over on Twitch a few times a week, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and give me a follow over on twitch.tv/Simmary Sims. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!